You are driving along, everything feels normal, and suddenly your dashboard lights illuminate out of nowhere. Then, just as fast, the warnings disappear. Or perhaps you walk out in the morning to find your battery completely drained. Modern Mercedes vehicles rarely suffer from simple, isolated mechanical failures. What looks like a bad battery often traces back to a deeper electronic issue, like a hidden control module that refuses to go into sleep mode when you park the car. This diagram shows the internal architecture of your vehicle. Every glowing node is a computer module. They operate on a complex sensor network, constantly communicating data to manage everything from engine timing to your infotainment system. Because the system is so highly integrated, a localized fault, like a single frayed wire, can cascade. That one bad connection sends corrupted data across the network, forcing the computer to trigger false warning lights for completely unrelated systems. Since surface-level symptoms rarely point to the actual root cause, guessing the solution is a fast track to wasting money. Trusting a mechanic who swaps parts based on the first warning light they see is an expensive mistake. When you face a persistent dashboard warning, you have a distinct choice. Take the car to a budget-friendly generic repair shop or pay a higher upfront premium for an independent Mercedes specialist. This comparison matrix maps out how we should evaluate that choice. We are going to compare the illusion of upfront savings against the reality of your total lifetime cost. On the generic path, you might pay $0 for a diagnostic scan and approve cheap aftermarket parts. Over time, that bottom line explodes. Because the shop missed the root cause, the warning light returns, forcing you to pay for repeat labor and secondary failures. On the specialist path, you pay a $150 diagnostic fee up front. However, the long-term total remains low. Accurate diagnosis means zero repeat labor and a repair process that keeps your factory warranties fully protected. Minimizing maintenance costs on a luxury vehicle requires a specific mindset. You protect your budget by investing in an accurate professional diagnosis on day one. A standard repair shop typically handles dashboard warnings by plugging in a basic code reader, looking at the flagged system, and immediately swapping out the nearest sensor. This flowchart maps a dangerous approach, the parts cannon. Mechanics rely on incomplete data, throwing new parts at the vehicle, hoping to turn the warning light off. A week later, the symptom returns, the cycle loops, and you pay a second labor invoice. Instead of blindly reading a code, a specialist reviews pending faults, analyzes live data from the engine, and physically tests the electrical grounds. This surgical approach bypasses the sensors and terminates at the true root cause, like a corroded wiring harness. Breaking this cycle requires the correct infrastructure. A specialized shop charges an initial fee specifically to deploy dealer-level diagnostic software. That initial diagnostic fee acts as direct insurance. It entirely eliminates the parts cannon risk and saves you hundreds of dollars in unnecessary hardware replacements. Once the exact problem is isolated, the repair phase begins. Many owners feel tempted to approve quotes that cut hardware costs by 30 to 50% using generic aftermarket components. Generic aftermarket electronics carry serious operational flaws. They consistently lack the strict physical tolerances and proprietary software communication protocols that factory Mercedes modules require. Installing generic components results in a weak network communication and noticeable drivability issues. When that subpar part fails prematurely, you end up paying your mechanic's hourly rate a second time to replace it. This blueprint highlights the zones where original equipment manufacturer, or OEM parts, are an absolute necessity. You must use factory-spec hardware for sensors, complex electronics, cooling components, and engine management systems. High-quality aftermarket alternatives can occasionally make sense. An experienced specialist might approve them for non-critical repairs or wear items to help control costs, primarily on older vehicle models. The precise factory tolerances established on the assembly line must be mirrored in the repair bay. Compromising on parts introduces immediate weak links. Accepting a lower initial invoice for cheap electronics drastically increases the risk of secondary failures. Securing OEM parts ensures long-term reliability and precise engineering fitment. The final variable in your repair equation is determining who installs the parts and performs the physical labor. Relying exclusively on official dealerships carries a heavy financial burden. Owners face a 50 to 70% markup on labor rates simply to cover the franchise's massive showroom overhead. The independent Mercedes master technician represents the optimal solution. You secure factory-correct repairs, OEM parts, and valid warranties, while bypassing the excessive dealership labor rates. Independent specialists provide a massive logistical advantage: mobile diagnostics. The technician arrives at your location, rolling a high-tech diagnostic cart right up to your vehicle. On-site mobile service solves the no-start dilemma immediately. Busy professionals get dealer-level answers in their own driveway, completely avoiding the cost and hassle of an unnecessary tow truck. Utilizing an independent specialist allows you to demand the exact technical precision of the dealer network, while actively capping your total cost of ownership. The correct approach for your vehicle depends entirely on your specific timeline and your financial strategy. This Mercedes repair decision matrix maps out action plans. The budget-conscious pay the diagnostic fee, using aftermarket parts only for non-critical systems. Time-poor professionals utilize mobile diagnostics and demand OEM parts. Long-term investors hire master technicians and mandate OEM parts to fully protect factory warranties. Accepting a slightly higher upfront diagnostic cost is the only reliable method to guarantee long-term peace of mind and lower your overall lifetime repair bills. Mercedes' heritage is built entirely on precision engineering and longevity. To experience that standard of quality, you must actively protect it. A properly maintained vehicle delivers a flawless driving experience. Cutting corners on parts or labor traps you in a cycle of endless intermittent dashboard warnings and repeat invoices. The smartest financial investment you can make in your vehicle is paying a specialist to correctly diagnose the true problem before a single wrench is turned.